Yeah, that'd be a good one, obviously. One for me is, and I don't know if this ever came out in Japan, but Resident Evil 0 on the N64 is hilarious to me. Obviously, originally it was completely an N64 game, and then it just got moved to the Cube. And again, I know, of course, it never came out in America on the 64, but I don't know if it came out in Japan on the 64. I want to say not, but...
I don't think so.
Yeah. Oh, and another one, speaking of that, is Resident Evil Game Boy Color, like the remake of Resident Evil 1. I mean, that game is essentially made. Like, there are ROMs of it out there where you can play the whole thing up to, like, the laboratory.
Dude, every time that a game comes out that gets canceled after the development is done is always so interesting to me.
Yeah.
I guess the company, the higher-ups were just like, we're probably going to lose money marketing this game.
Yes. And that brings me to my biggest one, which is Resident Evil 3.5. Go ahead and look that up on YouTube, folks, after you're done, of course, watching many of our videos.
Yeah.
Resident Evil 3.5 looked like a scarier version of Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, Resident Evil 4 is one of my top 10 favorite games of all time, and it changed the industry for better or worse, depending on how you want to take it. But I think no one can disagree it's an amazing game. But Resident Evil 3.5 had a much more, like, old-school kind of, almost fixed camera kind of feel. Kinda. And I think it's a dang shame that we never got that. As awesome as Resident Evil 4 is.
This one's gonna ruffle some feathers, but everyone's obsessed with Silent Hills being canceled. It wasn't gonna be good. I'm sorry, it wasn't gonna be
Well, yeah,
good.
I mean, considering what we ended up getting, kind of, is there a way you can tell which one's which, or just...
Not really.
You attack whichever one. Anyway, yeah, considering what we got was,
Yeah, I don't know if Death. I think if
yeah, considering what we got was Death Stranding. Sorry, I was watching that boss.
I don't know if I think Silent Hills wouldn't have been as weird as Death Stranding, because I think, like, when Kojima cut loose from Konami, I think he wanted to make a statement. This feels weird to say, but I think he wanted to make a statement more than an actual game, which I think is why he, like, tried to market the game by saying that he invented a new genre, and, like, he was being really cryptic about it, and then the game ended up being, like... If one thing you can say about Death Stranding is it's definitely very unique.
It's unique. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Obviously, I think there's a lot of ideas and hubris behind that title that ended up being not great, but anyway. Silent Hills probably would have been decent, and it also probably would have been better than any of the Americanized Silent Hills. Like, it probably would have been better than Homecoming or Downpour. Maybe on the same level of Origins. I mean, obviously on, like, a larger, like, budget and scale. But,
yeah, that's a good one, because people will always make that game synonymous with PT, the playable demo, but that was a shot in the a flash in the pan where the demo was just incredible, but had very little to do with the actual game itself.
Yeah. It was marketed just amazingly, because, like, PT just came out. It didn't have any, like, branding underneath it. Didn't have a company name behind it. It was just slapped on the PSN store just one day out of nowhere, and people were like, "What is this?"
Do you know what that reminds me of? This is kind of a stretch, but Trev, since you've watched a lot of old Simpsons too, it reminds me of Gabbo.
Oh yeah.
Like, literally, now that I never thought about it before, but, like, I remember the whole, oh my god, that episode's so amazing. But, like, the whole beginning of it's, what is Gabbo? Gabbo's coming. And, like, that's literally kind of how PT was, where it was just like, they just release it, and then everyone's like, what's PT? What's PT? You know? What is Gab? Oh my god, dude. Oh, god. Every time I think of anything early Simpsons, I'm like, it was brilliant. Mush and I were having a conversation. For all you old school fans, you remember Mush from MVP Baseball 2005 video that we did, like, 8 years ago? Anyway.
Hey, one of our most watched videos.
One of our most watched videos, correct. Because we had Mush. So we were talking about old Simpsons, and he was like... He mentioned, like, 3 or 4 jokes he never got until he was, like, older. And he's like, I get this now. You know what I mean? And it's not even like you get it, but it's like, I feel it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, dude, early Simpsons, like the first, and I'm not gonna be like hardcore and be like the first one, season or whatever, but the first like whatever amount of seasons, like Homer was like a very approachable, like just every dad, just normal Joe American guy who had like the problems that like people would actually have.
Yeah, all the original casts weren't Flanderized yet.
Yeah. And like it's funny because like a lot of the stuff he had was like real people problems. Like, yeah, he was like dumber than your average person in terms of like, some of the stuff that happened or how he, was silly about it. But like he had like legit problems like work and money problems and like having time for the kids and like a lot of that stuff I watch now, I'm like, wow, I really get this. Like
when they do that episode with the past where like he like marries Marge and like it's the kind of the time skip of like him working and losing his hair, I don't think that will ever leave my memory of just like a perfect segment.
Yeah. And it's like amazing. And of course, like I don't know what there's like a term for it. I know there's like jump the shark and whatever, but there's like, I guess Flanderized might be a term like you use, but like obviously over time, especially when a show's on for like 30 years, you get the characters become like more silly all the time, and that you just have to do that because like if you just have them be the same for 30 years, people will just be like, eh. You almost have to have those. Oh, well, he already did this, but now he has to do something more. Like I personally love the show The Office, and I know a lot of people like are not as like high on it. But, like, if you look at a lot of the characters, like, look at what they were in season 1, 2, 3 compared to the end. Like, Dwight is a great example. He was just, like, a weird guy. Like, kind of a lovable, odd, weird guy. And by the end, he's, like, like, really over the top. Like, really, really over the top. Or, like, Michael Scott's another great example. He's, like, a bad boss who's a lovable guy in the beginning. And by the end, he's, like, doing hilariously ridiculous stuff. And you're like, okay.
Yeah. It's also really easy, not only do they have to, like, change the characters over time, but it's really easy to, like, just pinpoint, like, one trait that's, like, gets the character popular, and then they just, like, cling to that.
Bazinga.
Yeah, and they make it makes it so easy to write for the character, too.
Yeah. There's one character that was on a sitcom that lasted a pretty long time. I want to say this show was 7, 8, 9 seasons that did not change in that way. And that's because the character was done in such a one-dimensional way that it was amazing from the get-go. And that's the main character, Doug, from King of Queens. The all 200 episodes of the show. And I personally love, I forget the guy's name. Dang it.
Kevin James?
Kevin James. I personally love silly stuff like Kevin James. But literally... it's fine, and RJ will agree with me because he watches King of Queens a lot.
Yeah.
But the whole joke of King of Queens is Doug's fat. That's the entire. If you were like explain King of Queens to me, I'd be like Doug's fat. Like that's it. That's all you need to know. And like it literally, it's just like explain King of the Hill. Hank is normal, everyone else isn't. That's it. That's like the whole show. Like if you were like explain it in one sentence, that would be it. Like Hank just wants a normal life and everyone else is crazy. Like that's it. But yeah, like literally because they made it so simple to begin with, like he's like a lovable oaf who's fat and like literally every like you can see in King of Queens, I don't know what it is that's so perfect, but you can see the jokes coming. Like it's so simple. Like Doug is just in the room and has like a million like things of food around him, and Carrie walks in and she doesn't even have to say anything, and you're just like you're like laughing already because you're just like I literally empathize with that because I'll just be sitting there with like 40 million snacks and like Ash will walk in and I'm just like, you don't have to say anything. You don't have to be like, huh, did you save enough for the rest of the country? Like literally you should just walk in and just look and you're like laughing your head off. That's just my opinion, obviously.
I definitely agree that Kevin James is perfect for King of Queens. Everything else he's in is horrible.
Yeah, I mean, I watched like some of the other stuff like Paul Blart Mall Cop and it was fine, and Grown Ups is fine or whatever. I really...
Adam Sandler, I forget the production company that Adam Sandler works with, but everything that they make is horrible.
It's funny because recently, in the past couple years, Adam Sandler's been in like some slightly Kino things, which is like really weird.
Like what?
There's that one about him being like a diamond guy or like a pawn shop owner or something like
these
that.
These like Netflix things?
Yeah. And he like, it's the one you might have seen pictures. He has like a black goatee and wears glasses or whatever. Like, apparently that's like pretty good actual film. It's not something that he made, I don't think. I think it's something he was like part of. But yeah,
Happy Madison Productions. I think
that makes sense. Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why. It's just like in King of the Hill. Obviously, King of the Hill doesn't have a lot of like laugh out loud moments. It's just like really good. But like, it's just so easy to like write it because it's like you already know Hank's like just wants life to be normal, and then like Hank walks in and Bobby's like dressed like a girl dancing with a mannequin, and you're like, that's the joke. You don't even have to say anything. That's the joke. So I guarantee that if someone out there is a big fan of King of Queens and still listening, like I guarantee you could find on YouTube that exact joke. I haven't watched the show in like 10 years, but that exact joke, that it's just literally like just him around a bunch of food and Carrie walks in and just looks at him and there's like a huge laugh. I guarantee that was done. And if they didn't, then that was a huge missed opportunity.
So that crystal thread we just picked up is actually mandatory. You need that. This is one of the things of it being unnecessarily cryptic and confusing. But you need that item to give back to Elle, who's your childhood girlfriend. Now,
can you finish this part without getting that?
Yes, but you can just re-enter the tower.
Okay.
But it's especially confusing, and I'll show it at the beginning of Tower 5. But you need it to go back to Elle to give her the crystal thread. Oh yeah, this is really weird.
I like this?
Yeah, like the Guardian is kind of like testing you, but also kind of screwing around, and this is definitely one of his screwing around moments.
Another one of these type of bosses. We just had one of these the other day. I forget which game.
Chameleon Twist.
Chameleon Twist, yeah.
I don't even know if you necessarily have to like do this, but I try to kill as many as I can. It's hard though.
Oh yeah, it seems very random.
So one of the moves that I try to use more than any other move is the dash, because not only is it relatively strong, it's not your strongest move.
You get iframes.
You get iframes, and that is very good in this game.
Invincibility frames for you folks out there. Although I'm sure if you're watching this channel, you know what iframes are.
Maybe you do have the kill.
Base. Flippity flop.
Yeah, this is a move that I almost never use because, in general, the sliding dash is just so much better and stronger.
Cool. This was definitely the craziest one of these. That was the fourth, right?
Yeah. I did get lost, but that one's the hardest. The fifth tower actually is basically nothing. The main puzzle behind it is just figuring out how to even enter it.
Let's see. I'm trying to think of any other games while we're on it that were canceled that make me a sad panda. I can't think of any within the last like 5 years or so. Mainly because I don't like follow stuff too much. I'm usually like, I get excited for new things that come out, but I'm like very patient on it. Like, you can ask Trev, like the last time I played a game, like the day it came out, I even waited like a couple weeks to play Last of Us 2, and I was waiting for that game for years. I don't even remember. I even waited for a used copy of Spider-Man, which I was like pretty stoked on.
I think, didn't you wait a little bit for Final Fantasy VII Remake?
I did not, actually. I was going to, but then George, that was one of those weird ones. We didn't get any copies because it was like during COVID stuff. But George George got 2 copies, and I was like, George, can I just buy one off you? And he was like, yo, that's fine.
Why did he get 2?
I don't know. He wanted to keep one sealed, and I was like,
okay.
But then he also got the deluxe version. I was like, George, just...
Oh, dude, the deluxe version got traded in like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Yeah, that immediately.
Oh, look up there. We got another one as well. How you like that?
I was going to leave it at the store if it was really expensive, but it was like only like $60.
Yeah, it's not anything crazy. Anyway, back to what I was getting at. I will be... I'm not one of those people to get like really overly like butthurt about something, but if they announce the Saga Frontier HD remake, and if that ends up not coming out, I will be devastated. Like, I can't really say that. I'm not one of those people that like is like, oh no, they canceled The Mandalorian, I'm gonna literally cry. That's not me. I just kind of take it as it goes. But if they literally did all this, and they're like, Saga Frontier HD is literally being made, and then they're like, lol JK, I will be very, very sad.
Man, imagine if they did that. It would make no sense.
Yeah, I mean, until in this current year, in this current climate, until something physically exists or digitally, I don't know if this will have a. By the way, if there is gonna be a special edition, I don't care what it is, I'm getting it. I don't even care if I miss it and have to buy it on eBay.
I think unfortunately it's gonna only be digital.
I think it's gonna be digital. Only
I'm still gonna. I almost never buy digital games. I bought Final Fantasy VII Remake digital just
because we couldn't get it. Yeah.
And I'm gonna buy Saga Frontier, and I think that's like one of the only 2 games I've ever bought digital.
I only buy digital if you don't have another choice. But anyway, if for some reason they're like, oh yeah, we did all this stuff and then now it can't come out, I will be like literally devastated. So,
dude, they've released like really random stuff. Like, here's Romancing Saga 3 translated on PSN. Like, how many copies did that sell?
Right.
Like 10,000.
But like, I feel like that's like when that was announced, I was like, you know those moments where you're like, nah, this is too good to be true. I was like, am I dead? Like, am I dead? Is this the world, like, messing with me?
Out of nowhere.
It's like, so weird.
There's always been, like, a cult community that talk about the game, but it's not ever been, like, popular. And a lot of people, like, agree. Like, even the people that like it are just like, yeah, it's a great game that has so much potential, but it is unfinished and not perfect.
Yeah. I wouldn't even care as much if FF7 Remake 2, which if you played the game, it's obvious that there's going to be a second or a third part. I wouldn't even care as much if that didn't come out than I do Saga Frontier, if that makes sense. Like, that would devastate me. I would be so sad. Like, I don't know. And like Trevor's right, especially now that they're like, hey, we added Fuse and we did all this stuff. Like, I don't think they would do that if there was, like, you know, any question, but I don't even care. I gotta be honest, they said summer of 2021. I'm patient. I'm extremely patient about that stuff. If it gets delayed, I don't care. I'm not gonna be like, It's just if they're like, quietly doesn't come out, be like, I didn't forget about that. Yeah, I remember, I think it was maybe Trevor or Big Mike shared it, or it was like, said something cryptic about Saga Frontier. I was like, what? And then I, like, literally looked it up on Square's, like, Twitter, and I was like, no.
Yeah, it's just out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere.
Here we go. Here's this dream thing that, like, me and Spencer and, like, probably, like, 1,000 people in the entire planet care about.
I literally do. Actually, a customer was like, it's not even, like, a customer I know really well. Like, I think he was picking up, like, an RPG for, like, Switch, and he was like, did you see Saga Frontier's getting remade? And I was like, yeah, I did. And, like, it's not a guy, like, I know him, but I don't, like, know him, like, super, super well. I'm not, like, never told him about Saga Frontier, so I was like, all right. I don't even care if it's particularly not that great. Like, I don't really care. The fact that it just exists is, like, amazing to me. That's why, like, I sometimes, like, take offense to, like, how, I don't know what word to use. Gamers in general are pretty entitled. And I think most people would agree with that. Like,
yeah, like I half agree and half don't agree.
Yeah, and like
I do think people's opinions on like game worth are very annoying, in terms of being like, oh, if a game's not 100 hours long, it's not worth $60. It's like, hard disagree. I do not want to play Skyrim or any game like that with 100 hours of filler quests.
Yeah.
I'd rather play something good and concise.
Like this, that's like 10 hours long.
Yeah.
So, some people aren't, but some people really are, and like my major point with that is...
So here's the reason why we need L's cape. So, the Guardian shows up, you're immobilized, so I can't move, and he just shoots you out of the thing. So, it's one of those things that when I got here again, because I haven't played this game in probably like 5 or 6 years, I was just like, oh god, I remember this, but what do I do? And it's like, oh, you need that thread to give the L to get her cape, and then you equip it. And it's like, okay, how are you supposed to know that?
How are you supposed to know that? It doesn't explain anything.
Yeah. Luckily, the game isn't super cryptic in that way. There's one other point that I remember being pretty annoying. I think I got to it like a week or two ago.
That's cool.
But otherwise, this game is fairly straightforward and very much Soul Blazer-like once we get to the actual world in terms of like doing stuff to resurrect certain things in the world.
But anyway, to finish my point real quick, that me saying that about gamers in general is like kind of a cyberpunk thing. Like, the game came out and has lots of problems, and I think, most people would, like, agree with that. But, like, CD Projekt Red has been really cool, all things considered, and being like, we will literally refund any time you bought it digitally, and yada yada. And then people are still like, I don't know, it's just like, they're like, we're literally going to come out with a bunch of patches in the next couple of weeks or month. And people are still like, not good enough, returning it. And it's just like, they didn't even want to release the game. Like, at the time, they were like, we don't want to bring it out now. But everyone was like, bring it out! Stop not bringing it out. And it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't mean it for everyone. And, obviously you watching out there, I'm sure you're not like that. But, like, I do feel like gamers in general are, like, pretty... I don't even know, like, I guess that word would do well, but, like, especially, in my opinion, PC gamers, and I understand because you, like, spent a lot of money on your PC rig and all that, but, like, if these people sometimes see a game drop below, like, 60 or 120 or whatever frames per second, they're like,
come on.
They're like, trash, and I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah, and some people actually justify their like $1,500 gaming PC by being like, oh, it's really easy to pirate games. So that's the value of it, because I can pirate games now. It's like, you are the worst.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, like, I find glitches and bugs to be like funny a lot of the time. Nice. Like, yeah, if a game's completely broken, like, what's that one we just...
what the hell? Why did I level up when I didn't kill it?
That's weird.
I guess I, like, hit the tail or something? Oh, yeah, this... I don't know what's going on with this portion. Like, you break his face. I guess it's the XP that I got. And it doesn't seem like he does anything. I'm not sure if doing this, like, stun locks him. But let's not find out.
Yeah. But yeah, like, Remother Broken Porcelain was, like, a completely broken game, but I also, like, found it kind of funny, all things considered, looking back, and, like, if I was playing Cyberpunk and there was, like, a bunch of, like, random graphical glitches, I would think it's kind of funny, especially, like, nowadays that games are going to be patched, so you're never going to get those glitches again, or those specific glitches, and I don't know, I don't know. I just... It's... I'm not fully committed to that, but, like, a lot of times I just feel like, oh god, like, and especially like Trev said, when it comes to price and stuff, it's like, oh man, making Last of Us 2 $60 and I'm only gonna play it one time. It's only like 20 hours long. Ugh. It's like, bruh, if you went to the movies, it's like 2 hours for $15. You know what I mean?
$15, we were lucky.
Yeah, yeah. Or, like, you can, like, all members of your family could play Last of Us 2 separately, whatever. But if you went as a family, like, 4 of you, it's going to be, like, $50-$60, Obviously, probably more if you get, like, food and
I think the
like that.
only time recently that I felt cheated from a game for being too short is Resident Evil 3 Remake.
I do agree there. That game was...
I think that game should have been like $40, but I hardly ever feel that.
You know...
Then again, I hardly ever play, like, Western AAA games.
Yeah.
So...
My thing was more of like, so I got it, obviously, and I was like excited to play it. I think even that one I waited a little to play it. And
I'm not saying that it's not just short, but it's also disappointing. And
yes, my thought after playing that was probably 20% was, oh, that was disappointing, and 80% I was like, I have to sell this at CIB for $60 until it price drops. You know what I mean? So like half of it was me, like I said, being like, oh god, this is gonna be impossible to sell. Because I'm not gonna lie to someone. If someone was like, "Is this game good?" I'll be like, "Yeah." Like, "Is this game like worth it? The money?" I'd be like, "No." You know, unless you're gonna like literally play it over and over again. But most streamers that like I saw pretty much like maximized it out in like a month, like the hardcore Resident Evil people, and were like, "I'm done." You know, yeah. I don't see anyone streaming it anymore.
And people were talking about, and streamers were like, "Oh, the game's like 5 hours long." I was like, "No." And I didn't even get 5 hours out of the game.
Yeah, that is a good one. I will admit that was. I actually kind of forgot about it because at the same time,
we were
the lockdown, and at the same time I was playing FF7, and FF7 was like, in my opinion, pretty damn long for being only Midgar. Like I thought it was a pretty long game. Like I was like impressed with how long the game was in general. So like I was playing them at the same time, and yeah.
Jod, you have succeeded. You have witnessed the resurrection of the continents at each of the towers. However...
Oh, yep, this Soul Blazer kind of thing.
Head direction and right.
There is a huge hole.
Walk. You can't move. So there's you can go back to L now. This is not a mandatory scene, but I like this scene.
Let's do it.
Because it's sad.
Hey, baby. I'm sorry, Chad. Oh, no!
Yeah, unfortunately, you'd care more about her if they did a little bit more with her, but you're just supposed to assume that her and Ark are good childhood friends.
Ark. That's not a bad name. That reminds me of the greatest Resident Evil game.
Yeah, and I have a feeling that they probably named them Ark after...
Wait! I'm Ark Thompson! Remember? No! I'm not Vincent! My name is...
Survivor?
My name is Ark! Ark Thompson! Yeah. Dude, that game, whenever I see one of the people I follow on Twitch streaming it, I'm like, buckle up, lads. It's really not that bad of a game. The story's awful, but like honestly, if it had gun support, which
I was about to say,
doesn't,
if it had gun support, it would still be like laughable in terms of like story and characters, but it'd be like not a bad game.
I just love how every single person there is like has a normal American accent or whatever, and then the kids are like, "Oi, Mr. Thompson," like Australian or whatever. I'm like, it's so good, dude. Ugh. That's one of those games I can never LP again, and it's just sad. Although I get the itch once in a while to like do dead aim, but then I'm like, how would we do it? Because I need to have the gun.
I was actually thinking about it because I have it working now. I was actually playing that game for a few hours.
Really?
It's a pretty interesting game. I was thinking about just pre-recording it because I don't know how.
You know what? That's a good idea. That's a good idea. I would be, especially during those. I know Trevor and I like to do like live, but also Alex Swingle said that specifically for like Guilt, the Stadia thing. He was like, I kind of like it once in a while when you guys like have it pre-recorded because you can just like focus on the talking and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, I can see that. But yeah, for something like that, would be great. You know what we should do is Vampire Night. If you can get that set up, I would pre-record that and we could just talk over it because like. That game's just fun. Yeah. The PS2 one. It's like it's seriously one of the best GunCon games that I've ever played.
Snicker. Ark is in the right. He's literally... You'll see in the overworld that this is literally a barren land of nothing. So if I was Ark, I'd be the same way, being like, okay, I'm screwed.
So you walked... Or you fell down into a hole, and now you're, like, in another world?
Yeah, so we're actually on Earth now. So they'll explain it a little bit more later, but the land that we were on isn't specifically Earth.
I'm excited, boys. Alright, this will do it for this part. And we'll be back in a couple weeks with some more Terranigma for you, lads and ladettes. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.